Good morning, everyone. Thank you. My name is Chris Kroger, and I'm the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Engineering Student Services. We are going to have some slides for you that we're going to show to the first-year students tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. And this is just a subset of what you'll see in terms of what they'll see. But more importantly, we've got a panel of people here on campus, especially from Engineering Student Services and the Career Center. And they're going to be here to answer your questions towards the end. What's most important is that you leave here feeling like your questions were answered in terms of what you want to know about us. But to kick us off is the Dean of the School of Engineering, the McKelvey School of Engineering. This is the first time I've had the opportunity to introduce the Dean as the McKelvey Dean at our first orientation session. And Dean Bobick is incredibly oriented towards the undergraduate education. A lot of times the deans of engineering schools really care mostly about graduate education, and he is incredibly focused on the undergraduate education experience of our students. He's dedicated a lot of resources towards that. So please, let's give him a warm welcome up here to say a few words for us.
So I'm from New York, so I probably don't need a mic. Can you hear me okay in the back?
Yep.
That's good. All right. Well, first of all, welcome. It's always, Chris was right. So I came from a background of both MIT and Georgia Tech, where fundamentally as a faculty member and as a researcher, the research effort, which of course is driven by faculty and grad students, is really fundamental. But at the end of the day, we also have this other little mission called education. And my first convocation was pretty cool last night, wasn't it? Yeah. This is our first year that we had the whole band and party thing. And I think it was a lot more upbeat and energetic. It was also clear that it was designed for people really younger than I was. My biggest problem was, so you guys, I don't know what you were wearing last night. I was wearing woolen robes. So it was kind of warm. But it was great to see that transition of sort of first thinking about the parents, because a lot of those speeches in the place were really for you guys. But by the time we got to be done at the end, it was really all about the students, as it should be. So I just want to give you a couple of thoughts, some hopefully to inspire and some hopefully to advise. On the inspire side, just a little bit, let me tell you why you really study engineering. I mean, a lot of your students are going to be biomedical engineers. Actually, I think the biggest incoming group is computer science, because they're not stupid and they can read the newspaper. And frankly, as having multiple degrees in computer science myself, it's a pretty cool thing to do. But the real reason to study engineering, especially to study in a place like WashU, where you're not going to spend all your time just within one discipline, is really what we teach the students is that nothing is impossible. No matter what the problem is, if you have the right tools and the right knowledge and the persistence and the tolerance for failure, there is nothing you cannot solve. And I don't care if it's some new renewable energy source that in order to drive down the cost of that, or it's a problem like world hunger, which at the end of the day is a technology and logistics and distribution problem if you have the political will, right? So what your students are going to learn, thank you. My future brother-in-law. And so if you, when you come here, whatever it is you study, you're going to understand how to do that. So that leads me to my next point, which is this. Many of your students have a plan about what they're going to major in. Most of them have that plan because someone in high school, or maybe even someone in this room, made them have a plan. So they came up with a plan. I'm going to major in chemical engineering. Good. How much chemical engineering did you do in high school? None. So they don't really know, all right? They're going to dive into it. They're going to explore. They're going to meet a lot of students who are doing stuff different than they are. They're going to meet faculty doing really cool stuff that has nothing to do with what they're majoring in. And you're going to get a phone call 4 months after they decided that, oh, we're changing our major for the third time. Okay. They are on a path of exploration. One of the things we're doing within engineering is making it a little bit easier to move between the engineering disciplines, and we're going to encourage people to explore to become who are they going to become. I always tell the students, look, in college you are not going to become the person you're going to be, you're going to start to become the person you're going to be. So you need to understand that they're going to be migrating, and what they need is your support about that migration. Third thing. I have one of my degrees, undergraduate degree in mathematics from MIT. So I can state with relative certainty that 50% of the kids are going to be in the bottom half of the class. And every one of you just said, not my kid. Because all of our kids coming in did really well. If we didn't have a firm belief that they have the skills and the ability to either have the work ethic or develop the work ethic to do the work, because the work is a lot and it is sometimes hard, they wouldn't be here. So they've all, frankly, done pretty well. And for some of them, they have never worked a day in their life in high school. Okay? Because frankly, it was just easy. So for many of your children, the first time they've seen a letter that's curved with a hole in it on an exam is going to be wash you. And how well and actually, they're going to be fine with it if you're fine with it. How well they will deal with it is going to depend upon how you deal with it. So I expect you to want to know that they're doing everything they can. One of the things that Chris and the incredible engineering student services staff will tell you about is the various kinds of peer-to-peer tutoring and other kinds of scaffolding support that we have for the students. And you have a right to expect them to take advantage of everything we provide, but you have to understand that not everybody's going to be in the top 10% of the class, even though pretty much all of your kids were in the top 10% of the class. It's going to be harder on you than it is on them, and you can't let them know that. Okay? So that's a little bit of a downer, but I want you to just, I really need you to internalize that. And so finally, the last thing I want to say, frankly, is just thank you. Thank you for entrusting us. Thank you for enriching the environment. No, I don't mean the tuition. I understand for many, for most, that's a huge conversation. And so your investment in your child by sending them here is not something we take lightly. And I want to thank you for doing it. We owe it to you, we owe it to them to give them the best possible educational experience we can. Chris was talking about the investments that we've all made in that space, and that's because we have this obligation to allow your children to become those just incredible, not just problem solvers and engineers, but those incredible people that we all know they can be. So I'm going to turn it over now to the world's best student service organization. It is certainly the best on campus, and I don't care who you tell, because it is. And they've got tremendous amounts of experience. Chris? Where's Chris? There he is. Chris has been at the university 112 years. And there's nothing that your students will face that we haven't seen students face before. And so we have the resources, we have the experience, and we have the determination to deal with it. So I'll be here for the rest of the presentation. There'll be questions later at the end. Actually, most of the questions I would just point to these folks anyway, but if I can be of any help, please let me know. You can Google me, Aaron Bobick. You probably can find my email. I'd be happy to connect. As I said, most of the time I just send you to either Chris or Jay Turner, who's our Vice Dean of Undergraduate Education. But we understand how important this mission is. So enjoy the session, enjoy the rest of the day. Saying goodbye to those kids is always a challenge. I got 3, all passed college, and but I think you'll find that it was a tremendously good idea for them to come to Washington. So thank you.
So I will move these slides fairly quickly to ensure that we've got as much time as possible towards the end for your questions. And when we meet with your sons and daughters tomorrow, the most important thing to do is to really establish an accurate definition of what it means to be an engineer. So it's someone who does precision guesswork based upon unreliable data provided by those with questionable knowledge. See also wizard or magician. So they're often going to feel that way when they're working in their small groups on problem sets, and they're able to accomplish those because they're able to overcome some of the unknown factor of what they're working on. By the way, this is a great Facebook page. It's called Trust Me, I'm an Engineer. I highly recommend as an engineering parent that you subscribe to that one. One of the things that we really want to do is to get them thinking bigger about what they can do with their engineering degree. And we see our graduates go off and do a wide variety of things. I've got a few examples I'm going to show up here. And it's really an opportunity multiplier in terms of long-term what they're able to do. How many parents in here were engineers as undergraduates, just out of curiosity? How many of you are still doing engineering? So we saw a lot of hands drop there. So a few are still up, but they change and do different things. But for a couple of traditional examples of some recent graduates, Grace just graduated. She actually is doing traditional engineering when she's working at Facebook now in Boston. But she was the student union president here. That's a really big deal. Student union has a budget of over $2 million, way bigger than our office budget is, and she allocates that through SU, through different student groups on campus. She had a fantastic experience in Facebook in California. She actually broke Facebook for a few hours, and they gave her an award for that because she did it. And they were wanting to really encourage people to push the boundaries there. Then she had a great experience in London with Facebook, and now she's working full-time with Facebook in Boston. Anna Patterson, also a really good example of using engineering, where if you have an Android phone, you can thank her, or if you use Google, she played a major role in ensuring that we have really quick indexes and searches with Google. Josh is someone who just graduated this past May. He had some great internships with Amazon. He also stayed and did a master's. He got an MBA with the School of Business through one of our combined programs. And he was hired into a position then with Amazon that's typically only offered to people with around 10 years worth of experience. So he jumped into a really great position with Amazon where he's at now. But we see students doing other things besides doing traditional engineering. We have 2 mechanical engineering students who either just graduated from Harvard Law School or are currently in Harvard. I got a really nice note, handwritten note from Max this summer saying he just graduated. He sent me that picture down there on the left. He even stayed for a master's degree here in engineering, but decided to go on for law school. And Azim, he had some fantastic internships related to mechanical engineering as a student here, but decided to go on to law school. So this is a really enthusiastic clicker I have. Deanne Bell, she just won our Alumni Achievement Award that Dean Bobbitt gave out this past year. He's done a lot of outreach with encouraging youth to go into engineering. She is the founder of futureengineers.org, and she's been the television host for numerous different television shows. You probably have seen her at some point and not even realized it was her. Frank was the co-founder of our Engineers Without Borders group a number of years ago. In fact, our Engineers Without Borders just took 2 trips to Uganda. They just came back recently from their second trip. He has really devoted his life to improving the lives of others as an electrical engineer, where he's the vice president of grid engineering with Segura International, where he spends a lot of time in Haiti. Kendall graduated biomedical engineering a few years ago. She was a physically disabled student here, and she has gone on and really proven herself in the Olympics, where she's won 4 different gold medals, 4 silver, and 1 bronze. An incredible individual. Kyle Warner is a student who has dedicated his life to the military. He's in the Navy. He's been there for 15 years. We have 2 current students right now who are on the track to do what Kyle's doing right now. And the Navy was so impressed with Kyle that they sent him off to MIT to earn a PhD, where he's doing some really incredible things, both in DC and in Hawaii. W.E. Murner is a graduate with electrical engineering, physics, and mathematics from Washington University. 3 undergraduate degrees he earned here in the 70s, but he actually went off and won a Nobel Prize in chemistry, which is unrelated to his undergraduate degrees. So, but we're still proud to call him one of our own here in the School of Engineering. So I'd like to finish talking just a bit about John Brook. John was an amazing individual here. He truly worked very hard, was outstanding, graduated summa cum laude, had close to a 4.0 GPA, had an undergraduate degree in mechanical, a master's in mechanical, and a number of different minors in different areas, including outside of engineering. He was definitely poised to go on and become a rocket scientist, or a rocket engineer if he wanted to be, but he followed his passion. And he is currently the head backpacking ranger at Denali National Forest in Alaska. The picture on the top right with him on the water, I just downloaded that off Facebook this week, where I get his feeds, and so he's still out there really enjoying himself. So he is dedicating his life to the environment and helping those things that are important to him. Now, unless you're a backpack country ranger in Denali, Alaska, you're probably making a really good salary, and all the data shows that the engineers still are making the absolute highest salaries when they graduate, which as parents is a nice thing to know. In terms of the first-year students coming in, a little over 1,700 students in the School of Engineering. The first-year students there represent about 15%, which is pretty traditional of the incoming students for engineering. But what's really interesting is that at graduation time, the engineering students make up about 20% of the students at graduation, partly because we have a great transfer program, a dual degree program where students come in, but also we have an internal transfer program where we typically have 3 students transferring into engineering across campus for every student transferring out of engineering. And that's kind of unusual for an engineering school. In fact, I just talked to a father before this presentation whose son is in arts and sciences and wants to transfer into engineering. In terms of where students come from, they're literally from around the world and around the country. We're very, very pleased with our female population coming in, our female students. We're at 35% women. Nationally, it's 18 to 22% women in engineering. For underrepresented students, we're at 21%, and when you combine both the females and the underrepresented students, we're at 49%. 16% athletes. So one thing I've noticed is that the athletes really do a fantastic job in the classroom. They're really good time managers. They're resilient. They're not afraid to ask for help if they need it. So we've had some really great athletes who are students who've done things academically and athletically. So here's the breakdown of our first-year majors. Kind of a tie between biomedical, computer science has taken the lead in recent years, and mechanical engineering. This is not how it's going to end, though, at graduation time, because typically around 1/3 of the students will change majors either within engineering or outside of engineering. So it'll definitely be a flow going across the different areas. We do have a new business and computer science joint degree program with the Olin Business School. 14 of those students are classified as engineering. The other 16 are classified as business. They have to be home to some school, so we kind of split them up that way. We also have some very flexible applied science degree options for our students. So if they get here and they decide they really would not rather be a professional engineer, but they want that broad-based engineering education, there's some applied science options for them. So everyone coming in is really a strong student, as Dean Bobick mentioned, but anyone admitted here we really believe can make it. The students that I do worry about the most are those who never had to study in high school, and sometimes that's a learning adjustment for them for time management and just being willing to ask for help. But we're really, really proud of our retention rates here. Nationally, at most state universities, the retention rate is 55% of the students who start in engineering will graduate with an engineering degree. Most private schools, it's around 70%. and our retention rates now are between 80 to 85%. So we may never hit 100% because some students will get here and they'll decide they would just rather be a finance major or a dance major or an archaeology major. So we want people to be able to move around here if they want to, but we want to keep as many students as possible. Our goal is not to filter anyone out once they're here. So really strong environment of collaboration and support. I've been here in almost 112 years, and it's been that way the entire time I've been here. So engineering undergraduate student services is the key landing point that we want students to come to, which is Lapata Hall 303, where we offer support for advising, for registration, for student group support, free tutoring. I'll talk about that for a minute. But take a picture of this if you have your cameras handy, because our phone number is on there, 314-935-6100. If there's a family emergency of some sort, let us know. Send us an email. If the student has to return home for some reason, we can send the student's faculty a note letting them know they had to leave for a couple of days for some reason and why they had to leave. So we want to hear from you in terms of if there's things going on. Four-year advising is really the cornerstone of what we do. The thing I've noticed the most that has impacted retention here is having a one-on-one advising experience with someone in our office. It's not just the information that is communicated to students in terms of the resources and for the curriculum, it's the questioning that goes on between the advisor and the student. Why do you want to do this? Why is that important to you? And it's that interaction that causes new opportunities to emerge. I talked to one of my advisees this summer who was in St. Louis. He stopped by, and he had signed up for biomedical engineering, and he really couldn't say why he was interested in biomedical engineering. In fact, the more we talked about it, the more he decided he was undecided about what he wanted to do. So we changed the schedule, and now he's got 3 different introductory courses he's taking this fall. And we've got him pivoted so that he can really shift to about any engineering major in the future after he takes these intro courses to get a better feel for what he might want to do. Other support staff in our office that are available. So the key things in our office, there's more, but these are the key ones. The 4-year advising. We have a tutoring program that's free where students can come in. We pay upperclassmen $10 an hour to help tutor students. We typically spend around $50,000 a year. And Chris Ramsey, you'll hear from him when he's up here. He can talk more about that. But there's services all across the university that are available for the students. There is no reason for any of them to suffer in silence. So I know sometimes, especially for some reason, the male engineers tend to kind of clam up and not ask for help. Really encourage them, at least, if nothing else, to come in and see someone in our office, their 4-year advisor, because then we can direct them to other things on campus that can really help them out. There is a really good website. It's the emergency.worcester.edu website. So if you want to be tied into what's going on, if there's severe weather or something like that going on in the St. Louis area, that's a good site to see. It tells you if there's any possible emergencies in the area. There is also an app that you can download, that's the Worcester app, that will automatically send you those alerts as if you were here in St. Louis and a student. Now today you're going to have the opportunity if you want to. Now these are optional sessions. We're going to have some students. Melanie's got some students coming in from N-Council, and they will direct you to these locations if you have interest. It gives you a chance to meet faculty in some of the departments. These aren't officially listed in the orientation schedule, but we did email these to your son and daughter and ask them to forward this email to you. We're going a little rogue here because we're not really supposed to offer a lot of activities over the weekend. This is supposed to be your time for general time, but we did want to have the ability for you to meet with faculty if you wanted to between 12 and 1 today. In terms of the orientation schedule for your sons and daughters, so tomorrow, after they meet with me, they're going to have the rest of the day where they can go from one department to the next. This is an incredibly unique opportunity. Really encourage them to go to every department session if they have interest. And if they're not going to a department session, they're welcome to come by our office and have a one-on-one advising session with faculty or with a 4-year advisor in our office. So this is a chance for them to, this is something new we were able to do this year. Before, we only had 2 sessions that students could attend, and this is a chance for them to go to all of them if they want to. On Tuesday, they meet with the 4-year advisor in our office as a small group. Mental health is a key issue in colleges across the country today. So we start off with a really good session from someone in student health services to talk about mental health and how they can better take care of themselves. Dr. Dennis Barber, who's in biomedical engineering, he was a first-generation college student. He's offering a session on demystifying the college experience. We really encourage our students to get involved in research, so we have an engineering panel on how to do research, and then we have a lot of our students, 70% of our students will do some type of combined program. We'll look at a second major or minor or a graduate degree or some kind of thing outside of engineering. So we've got a program set up for them to talk with people with other areas on campus about what those opportunities are. And then on Wednesday, there's the computer science placement exam so that students can move forward with computer science. Computer science is the most studied subject on campus right now. So all of your sons and daughters will take at least one computer science course, and many of them will decide to get a minor in computer science. We have a career panel with the Career Center where they can learn more about the opportunities in terms of co-ops and internships and full-time employment, what they can do with their majors. Fair number of our students are pursuing pre-medicine or pre-health or dental school. They have that in their mind. Ron, how many do we have this year apply? Was it 40? 35. So we had 35 apply for medical school this year. And I really enjoy talking to the students who come back after they finish medical school. I ask them, so how is medical school compared to engineering? Universally, they all say medical school is so much easier. So great preparation for medical school for them. Then we have an engineering student panel that talks to them. It's just really just students talking to students about things that they wish they would have known when they landed here. And then we have an induction ceremony that's been a long tradition here in the School of Engineering to welcome them to the School of Engineering. In terms of opportunities, there's just, I don't know how students decide what to pick from when they're here. There's just such a huge array of things that they can do. We hope that they do things and try things that they've never tried before. And again, the 4-year advisor can help them decide what they might want to do. Lots of different groups, even just within engineering. There's over 300 different student groups on campus and around 20 groups within the School of Engineering. They should all get involved with at least one group within the School of Engineering of some sort. A lot of entrepreneurship activities are taking place within St. Louis, and the big one within the School of Engineering is the Discovery Competition, where the school gives out a $25,000 prize every year to the undergraduate team who has the best idea. So if your sons or daughters have an entrepreneurship bug and they want to really pursue that idea, this is a great way for them to do that. So I'm going to pause there and welcome up the panel we have coming up here. Let's give them some walking music. Who has the first question for the panel? Oh, thank you. Let's have them introduce themselves first after they sit down. Ron, do you want to start?
Can you hear me? I feel like I'm on the end here. I'm going to slip over one. Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm Ron Lowy. I'm a 4-year advisor. In addition to 4-year advising, I also am the pre-medicine and health professions advisor for McKelvey Engineering. So any student who is interested in going to medical school or other health professions, they'll be working with me over the next 4 years.
Hi, my name is Melanie Osborne, and I am another of the 4-year advisors in our office. I've been on campus a long time, not as long as Dean Kroger, but a pretty long time. And in addition to advising, I'm the study abroad coordinator for the School of Engineering, and I work with the mentor programs we have with industry partners, as well as a new program we've started called Mentor Collective that allows students to be paired with a recent alum for career and just general support.
Melanie, would you really quickly talk about the summer in London?
Oh, yeah, this year we started a great new program, very exciting. We had 7 adventurous students who had finished the first year in the School of Engineering, and we developed a program where they were able to go for 4 weeks to London, and they took 2 classes. They took a class for their humanities credit, which was about the Industrial Revolution in England, and they also took differential equations. And we picked differential equations because in almost every engineering program, students need to be in differential equations in the first semester of sophomore year. So these students were able to go, they took differential equations with a faculty member we hired from University College London, but they also got to do a lot of great things. They went to Stonehenge, they traveled on their own. It was a great program, and we hope to expand it next year. So if your sons and daughters would like to be in London for 4 weeks and you could come and visit them, please consider our Summer in London program.
Hello, my name is Lizzie Mahalski, and I'm a third-year student studying chemical engineering. Some things I'm involved in outside of the classroom are I'm a member of the First Year Center Executive Board. I'm also a PLTL leader for calculus, which is a group almost like tutoring and group working through problems, things like that. And I'm also doing research in an environmental nanochemistry lab.
And she's studying
Yes,
abroad.
in Dublin in the spring.
Hello, I'm Kelly Delphos. I am the Director of Industry Relations and Career Engagement in the School of Engineering. So I don't actually do any advising, but I work on the other side, building relationships with industry to help foster internships, engagement in the classroom, and really getting students connected with professionals so they can learn about the things that they can do with their careers.
Good morning. My name is Chris Ramsey. I'm another four-year advisor and assistant dean. I'm also the director of academic success for undergraduate students in McKelvey. So I help manage and oversee our very popular, very heavily utilized tutoring program, our engineering tutoring program that your sons and daughters will hear about quite a bit actually over the next couple weeks, but certainly tomorrow at the dean's meeting when Dean Kroger meets with the class. But our program, students can get a free tutor, included in tuition, I should say. We called it free. I had a parent call me on that once in a session, so that's always been in the back of my mind. But no additional costs, which certainly makes it easy and efficient, and we make matches very fast. That's something that we take a lot of pride in. So calculus, physics, chemistry, basically any STEM foundational course, they can get a tutor directly through the engineering school, in addition to all the resources that are a part of the Learning Center, which is available to all WashU students. But we have our own program in addition to that. We also have tutors for many of our engineering courses that they can access. We have another program called the Problem Solving Teams that they'll hear about, but majors of biomedical, chemical engineering, and also electrical and systems engineering. We have small group sessions that meet on the weekend. So a lot of support that help just add to that really strong retention that we have in McKelvey.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Finney. I work in the Career Center, so I'm specifically an engineering advisor in the Career Center, and I work very closely with the Engineering Student Services team. My background is in electrical engineering. I went to WashU in EE, so I have that connection as well. But in the Career Center, we help your students with the whole internship job process. So it's never too early to get started. We want to work with them their whole time here, and we'll help talk just about what do they want to do, the nuts and bolts like resumes and cover letters and interviewing, how to network, and then getting those internships and jobs. So you are welcome to send them to us. We also don't want them to feel like they have to do that day one. But sometime this year we hope we get to meet with them. And they could be with me or with others on my team. We're in the DUC, the Danforth University Center nearby, and then we also are over in the engineering school as well.
Thank you all. Now, who has the first question? Yes. Why is double E enrollment so low? Double E is one area that will pick up in terms of students switching into electrical engineering. And part of it, I believe, is that the other areas, the last century was really the century for the transistor. whereas because of the transistor, we have all the common products that we have today, like the cell phone. And now some of the other areas seem sexier to students, or seem like there's more things going on there. Dean Bobick, do you have anything you want to, any thoughts you have about that?
First of all, it's definitely students move into EE when they find out, that includes things like quantum physics and a whole bunch of cyber, for example, cyber physical systems, since primarily EE in computer engineering, EE in computer science, so there's a big I also think this is something we're going to look at. How many of your kids came in early this year? All right, so one of the interesting things about that shift is, I'll use BME as an example. So our BME program, very present, people know about it, et cetera. So a lot of people who want to do BME, we're going to be their first choice. EE is present in lots of different places. And so I'm going to ask Chris and some other folks to take a look at, as we've shifted to more and more students coming in early decision, has that potentially shifted where the majors are coming? And I think that's something for us to look at. I'm not really worried because, as Chris said, we always get this flow of students into EE.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about these ready draw programs, especially considering for engineers? Are there more opportunities outside of the UK, Dublin, and Scotland?
So if you could repeat the question too.
The question is, are there opportunities outside of Dublin and Scotland for engineering students to study abroad? Yes. The primary decision is what's the language of instruction. So in France and Germany, they really don't instruct in English. And so our students need to be able to be studying in a language they understand. So we do have a program in Spain, but a student would have to take the college equivalent of 3 semesters of Spanish to study there. They take the engineering classes in English, and then they take a couple of classes in Spanish, a Spanish language course, and a civilization course. We also have programs in Budapest. We have a lot of programs for computer science because computer science is very popular and most schools offer computer science. So a computer science student can go to Amsterdam, Copenhagen, Budapest, and Israel. So there are a lot of opportunities for computer science students. So honestly, most of the other students, the other majors, are going to UK schools. They're going to London, Dublin, Scotland. But we do have programs in Auckland, New Zealand, and Sydney, Australia, and Queensland, Australia that are available as well for all majors. Oh, and we also have a program in Florence, Italy for mechanical engineering students and a summer program in Rome for mechanical engineering students.
Yes.
What percent of the engineers do study abroad? And is it typically, do they typically do it like their fall or their spring? Like, how does it work? They're not, they're always coursework.
What percentage of engineering students study abroad, I cannot tell you. I did not study math at MIT. I was a history major, and so I listen to people's stories. That's my job. But we had about, last spring, we had 54 students who studied abroad. In the fall, we had another 16 or 17, and then about 40 students studied in the summer. The summer is a great time to study abroad. In addition to our Summer in London program, everybody remember that one? Because students can do humanities and social science as well as a few engineering programs. So we have a lot of students who will just pick something like Sussex, England, or they'll go to Hong Kong and take general humanities and social science credits. Most students study abroad in the spring of junior year. Most of our partners want students to have had at least 3 semesters of preparatory work in engineering. And then we look at the schools, and I work with the faculty to select places where faculty approves the course is equivalent for engineering. So when a student studies abroad, you're going to pay the WashU tuition. The tuition then allows them to get WashU credits, and they count for their residency, they count for their requirements, and then they have the opportunity to take something fun, like I try to get everybody who goes to Scotland to take the bagpipe, but I haven't had much success. So the study abroad in junior year is just the WashU way. I think most kids want to be here in the fall, reestablish with their friends, and then they go abroad. I have had increasing success with mechanical engineering students going to Florence, and that is in the spring of sophomore year.
One of the, yeah.
So, one of the challenges in engineering sometimes when study abroad is we tend to have pretty extensive prerequisite chains. And so if you're taking a course that's within that chain, you have to make sure that the appropriate course that you're taking abroad satisfies the requirements so that you're not behind. It's the reason that most engineering students have done whatever they want to do during the summer, because you can just take courses, you can get general credit, and that. One of the things that faculty has been working at doing, we started this really a year and a half ago, and we're almost there, is to eliminate that there's any particular single course that you have to take that's only offered in the spring of your junior year, right? The last one, the fall, those of you who are biomedical engineering students, there's something called quantitative physiology, UP1, UP2. It's the course that makes BMEers PME. Also ages them significantly. And traditionally, they had to take it in their junior year, UP1, UP2. The department has now worked out in ways that they can do UP2 in their senior year, which would then free up that junior semester. So they wouldn't have to take a course that's sat within the prerequisite chain. So that's always a challenge that we have in engineering, more so than in, say, other majors. Computer science is never a problem because computer science, there are a lot of courses you have to take, but not too many of them are prerequisites one to the other. And the bottom line is, if you take a graphics class in one place versus another place, you're going to learn a lot of the similar stuff, so it's not quite as challenging.
Yes.
First of all, about advisor. I know that the students were assigned an advisor at the beginning, and I want to know, for example, my daughter decided, how was the advisor training set up? Why don't you talk about your advisor to do more of more medical or bio focus? And when students decide a major later on, there's an opportunity for them to switch advisor or advisor for development.
No? All right.
Okay, go ahead, Ron.
Well, I'll start off. I'll start off with that. I think one thing to keep in mind, yes, as we assign advisors, sometimes students who are advisees, when we had a student who was really interested in pre-med, sometimes they will be advised to me, but it's important, or assigned to me, but it's important to keep in mind that all of us in the office, all four-year advisors, we collaborate, we make sure we have all the same information to give to the student. When a student walks into engineering undergraduate student services and their advisor is not available, if another advisor is available, they'll talk with them. And we're not territorial, right? We want to make sure that students have the right information at the right time. And if there's something that an advisor doesn't know, we'll collaborate with someone else. So that's really an important aspect, to make sure that regardless of the advisor, all students get accurate information.
Also, the students have two advisors. So when a student comes into Washington University School of Engineering, they are assigned a four-year advisor that's one of us. And that four-year advisor stays with them through the 4 years. So we hope we're developing and establishing a good relationship with that student. Then the student, and I guess it was just mailed about a week ago, emailed to them the name of their faculty advisor. So they have a faculty advisor in the area of engineering that they're studying. If they're undecided, and we have how many, 18, 17 undecided students, until they decided their four-year advisor is their advisor until that time. So they come to us with all kinds of questions, general support questions. I'm thinking about changing my major. I want to get involved in this. I have questions about Res Life. And we help them with those big questions as well as the overall curriculum. Their general curriculum requirements, those humanities and social science, how they reach the degree requirements. Then their faculty advisor becomes increasingly important as they move through their major. So a student's a mechanical engineering student who says, I really want to focus on materials. That faculty advisor helps them pick those electives that get them where they want to be in their major.
Yes. Yeah.
Please share more details about the biomedical treatment and the success rate and the GPA. You know that biomedical is very tough and the GPA is like, when you compete for the medical admission, how does GPA impact the biomedical engineering?
Sure. So the question is, particularly in biomedical engineering, although this could be any engineering student who's applying to medical school, how does the GPA affect or impact the admissions process? I will say that in general, nationally, engineering GPAs tend to be a little bit lower. That's not just here at WashU, that is nationally. And I think that medical schools certainly take that into account. I think the other thing to note is that the pre-med core classes that students are taking, those are the same regardless of what major you are doing, the biology, the chemistry, the math. So medical schools will look at the science GPA in addition to engineering. But really the key is the understanding that as a pre-health student, it doesn't matter what you major in. The key is that you are majoring in the right major for you to help you become a better physician. And really, when you're looking at medical school admissions, there's two parts to that. There is the courses, the GPA, the MCAT, those are certainly important. But the other really important factor that sometimes students don't take as much into account is the building of your narrative. Medical schools want you to have a story, and they want you to be able to tell your story that is uniquely yours. And that is something we really work hard with students to be able to explain, this is why I chose biomedical engineering. I knew that the ability to have that chance to work with medical devices to improve quality of life and how that could help me be a better physician, that's a great story to tell. So that combination of things is why I see that our students who are applying to medical school or other graduate programs come with a really compelling story, and they do well.
Actually, before we go on, so raise your hand if your kids, possibly thinking about medical school.
What if you? Yeah, good number.
Yeah, some of you did want to put your hands up. And how many applied last year again?
Yeah, so we had 35.
Right, okay.
apply.
So about somewhere in the order of half the students who are coming in thinking they might apply to medical school come to their senses. They discover they want to do something else. And one of the advantages that they have, having whether they've done biomedical engineering or chemical engineering or biology, or whatever their thing is, that the day they decide, I'm not really going to go to medical school, they have a whole bunch of options. And frankly, it's an advantage that they'll have over some of the folks who are in some other schools, not to be named art and science, where they were sort of vectored in that med school direction, and now it's somewhat less clear. And so that slightly more expansive exposure, development of a skill set beyond just knowledge, really, is great for our students in that pre-med track, however they go.
Yes.
Questions for career services. Historically, it's really difficult for students having only finished their freshman year of engineering to find engineering work experience in the summer. How successful are you in finding internships or work environments for post-freshman students versus post-sophomore students?
So that's always challenging because of, for me to answer, oh, sorry, the question. Yeah, about internships after the first year. So one of the biggest challenges I have is that I don't know how many students do internships after the first year because they don't necessarily tell us. So we have excellent outcome data for graduating students on our website that you can view anytime, and I encourage you to take a look at that. We don't have as comprehensive data for the internships, and we're working all the time on how to catch the students and get them to tell us what they've done. But for our office, we are more focused on the students having a meaningful experience over the summer. Like Dean Bobick said at the start, we want them to be exploring. So for some students, that may mean having an internship that's very engineering focused their first year, but for others, this is a chance to try something different. So we really just want them to be doing something. Some students may go back to a summer experience they've done before, or may step that up a notch. Maybe they were summer camp attendees and now they're a counselor. Some may be doing their own personal projects, developing an app or something. Research is also a great opportunity. Sometimes the first year can be a nice time for that because it may be that later on they really want to focus on the internships more, so this may be a good opportunity to do research early or study abroad, like Melanie said later on. It's also summer, so there's many things for them to do. But yeah, they're not all going to have what would be termed an internship, but all of those experiences are going to be really valuable to the student in figuring out what they want, and then also in terms of like a resume builder, any of those are great. Does that kind of answer that?
It sounds like there isn't a lot of opportunity where you seek out corporations and other organizations to provide an engineering.
So I'll pass it to Kelly to answer part of that. But absolutely, there are lots of students that do. So one example I was just telling someone about this morning is one of my first year students in computer science just had an amazing internship at MasterCard here in town. They also do them elsewhere as well. So no, there are many first year students that do internships. I just want to emphasize that's not the only option. There's a lot of other things they do as well.
I think we're seeing an increase in the number of first-year students doing internships simply because a lot of them are getting more engineering experience in the high school than they ever have before through some of their engineering coursework and projects and organizations that they're involved with in high school. So I think that's changing. And I think employers are also understanding that, the race for talent, they need to start developing those relationships with students earlier on. And, a lot of those students, since they've been coding since middle school, high school, they have some pretty good skills that they can come out and do a solid internship after their first year. So we're working on that. And one of the things that Dean Bobick is really interested in kind of pursuing is building those internships overall. And so that's where my role is really going to come in. And one of the things that we're going to be launching this year is an internship network. So we're still going to build relationships with a lot of the companies that we've been working with, but we're also going to really focus on our alumni and our parents because a lot of you have the ability to offer internships or to be in a position of influence within your company, and so we're going to be coming back for you to help build some of those meaningful opportunities.
So I'm even going to stand up for this. We do a joint engineering program with the University of Missouri St. Louis. It's a program that's tailored to the community. Folks coming from the city get an engineering degree issued by UMSL, the University of Missouri St. Louis, using our facilities and working with them. And the motto of that program is Job Ready Day One. My job is not to educate your students for their first job. Our job is to educate your students for their first life. And we get pushback now and then that you're not doing enough to get vocational exposure to what students can do. And then I'll say, actually, exposure, yes. Vocational training, no. Our job is to get your students to a point that they can continue to learn when they get out. Because you all know, the world has gotten to a place now that whatever you learn in school is likely going to be, 5 years, certainly 10 years from now, not going to be what they need. And so we're trying to get them to that point. It's very interesting. So there are some schools that do a lot of co-ops, and those really are sort of recruiting tools and job development. Our students now, when they talk to big companies, it's not that they just want to know about vertical movement, can I get promoted? They want to know about horizontal movement. Can I try this thing over here? Can I try that thing over there? The days where engineering aspirations was to get your degree, bachelor's or master's, start working in a company and stay there for 35 years, we're just not there anymore. And
so we need your students to get exposed to things, to find out not just what they want to do, but what they don't want to do. And so it's become just a much more multifaceted thing about what we're trying to expose our students to do. Getting them to go someplace internationally is fundamentally great, not just because, look, they're going to be better people, et cetera. It just gives them a global perspective on what matters in the world of engineering and science and trade and economics and policy. And so while we continue to make internships important, we're thinking of it as part of the educational element, not just, will this help them get a job? Our students, they eventually get jobs. The demand for engineers now is just insane, okay? So the focus has to be, for those summer experiences, what have you learned? What have you learned about yourself? What have you learned about the opportunities that are out there that you might care about? Not, were they so impressed with you that they're going to offer you a job next summer? And that's really, that's personal bias on my part. The Career Center tries to get them jobs, which is great. But that's a bit of a shift from where we used to be.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that you can help us in the audience that are in the same boat with our children to get out of trouble with our children. We were advised, a couple of us, that if our kids wanted to get into engineering, that the first step to getting into WashU was just to get into WashU, and therefore they should do arts and sciences as their major, or that's what they should declare. And so, wanting to be helpful parents, that's what we guided our children to do, who are now very angry with us that they are not directly in engineering. So this week during orientation, can they take advantage of some of these Tuesday and Wednesday events is the first part of the question. And then part two is, what's the other advice to get us out of the doghouse with these very ambitious children?
Sure, absolutely. Your sons and daughters, no matter what division they're in, are welcome to come to all of our sessions if they want to do so. The experiences they have later in the week are more locked in, but those aren't academic specific. So please encourage, if you're not engineering parents, encourage your sons and daughters to come to our sessions if they'd like to. And this is not an uncommon thing. It's typically about 3 students transfer into engineering for every student who transfers out. A number of those transfers happen because for advice that they may have received that it's easier to get into arts and sciences than it is to engineering. Part of that's really not true. We definitely look harder at the math and the sciences maybe than arts and sciences does, depending upon what they're majoring in arts and sciences. So it's totally good in terms of still switching over to engineering. Very common. We will talk to students frequently who plan to come in, and we're happy to advise them now about their progress coming in.
So I'm not going to ask how many of you actually are arts and science parents. How many of you got that advice from either a guidance counselor or somebody who sort of thought they knew that the right thing to do would be to apply to not engineering, apply to arts and sciences, get in, and then transfer? How many of you got that advice? Well,
Interesting.
It's interesting. If the majority of you put up your hands, we'd have a real problem. It is a small issue. I think it's only a small issue. I think if you're one of the kids who came in arts and sciences, ask your son or daughter, so, are you at WashU? You like the mattress in your dorm? Can I write you a really big check to cover room and board? Shut up and leave me alone. We're aware of that. We're also, I mentioned earlier that we're making it easier for people to transfer between majors within engineering. That will have the net effect of also making it easier to transfer into engineering after that first semester. There will be a few hiccups if you're a Chemie or MECI student and you don't take that intro course that first semester, and then you have to figure it out a little bit. So there'll be a little bit of, so they'll probably complain a bit, but they'll deal with it. Look, we have students who transfer in after 3 years at some liberal arts college taking physics, and they do the entire engineering curriculum in 2 years. So they'll be okay.
If your student is interested in learning what the engineering majors are, Chris had a slide up that had the sessions tomorrow. Those would be really good for your students to go to. Lizzie might be annoyed with us because there's an orientation schedule. Some of the things are set if they're in arts and sciences or another division, so they don't want to miss an important thing that is something they're connected to in arts and sciences or St. Fox or business. But tomorrow, they will have the opportunity to visit all the different engineering departments and hear what the curriculum's like and hear from the faculty. And that gives them a good idea of what it would be like to be in one of those majors.
And one last point after attending that session, one of the keys is that if a student wants to transfer over to the School of Engineering at the second semester, it's helpful if they're in the right classes for this semester depending on their interests. We are certainly happy to, if your son or daughter wants to email one of us, or we can take a look at their schedule to make sure that they're in the right classes to keep them on track.
They can come into our office and we will talk to students and help them with their schedules.
Yes.
One of the things that was mentioned at the convocation was to have your students take a class, maybe one a year or one a semester that is outside of their major with engineering. When does that go?
Yeah, so when do students take classes outside of engineering? All the time. And within engineering, students have to take a minimum of at least 18 units of humanities and social sciences, which are really in arts and sciences. And so it averages out to about one a semester.
If you're Chemi or BME and you're in physics, chemistry, calculus, and the intro class, the first year is not the year where you're taking the classes outside of engineering, but then it opens up. You get that opportunity later.
Yes.
My son has registered for classes, I guess, online. It's possibly only paid. Then some of the other kids are paid without coming to class. Is that typical? Like, do they get? I'm just a little surprised.
Yeah.
Some of them are waitlisted by design. What's his major?
Well, I think of mechanical engineering.
Well, mechanical engineering, we had 3 classes that mechanical engineering students all went on the wait list for to see how many students wanted to take those classes, and he should be in those classes by now. Our registrar staff worked to move the students. Talking with the departments, they sorted all that out, and everybody should be in the mechanical engineering classes.
Yes, sir.
So you mentioned that there's a new program in engineering and business, and that there are 14 in engineering and 16 coming from business. Can you tell me, like, what would be active for decision making for a student to like, to be in one school that our student has to do with the course requirements, but also how does it affect your advising?
Sure. Yeah.
And what if you decide, I don't like being in the engineering school, I'd rather go to business, can you change the schools retaining that major?
So I'm going to let Ron talk about this for a minute since he's our core advisor for that program. But in terms of selecting the students for the business plus computer science, during the admission cycle, they would select that option as their top choice. And their second choice would have been either business or engineering. So if their second choice was engineering, then we got them. If their second choice was business, then business got them.
Right, and just, I'm pretty proud of that degree we work hard on it. There actually are no course requirement differences. So that is a joint program between computer science and business. They will all take all the same classes.
But are you advised jointly or advised one?
So we separated them out just, to separate the load in terms of advising. And then the method they used, which is pretty reasonable, was let's get them advised by the unit that they said, well, if I were to leave this joint program and just pick one, which one would I have picked? And so we put them to be advising there. If they're in computer science and business right now and are homed in business, and they decide, you know what, I just want to be a computer science student, then they'll become a computer science student and we'll shift their advisor.
What about computer science and math?
So, computer science and math is a little bit different. The math department in arts and sciences wanted a particular set of general education requirements coming in. engineering. So that program, there are two different front doors. And there are actually different requirements in terms of the other parts, and then they share sort of the computer science math part. So the computer science plus math is a slightly different beast than the computer science business. Computer science business is an honest-to-God joint degree. Everybody takes the same courses. You know, the hardest decision is going to be is where are they going to sit in commencement, and maybe what school it says. I don't know. But the idea is they're all going to know the same stuff. The computer science and math is a little different. And right now we're working on computer science and economics, and I think it'll probably be in the math model as opposed to the business model. And that has to do with arts and sciences way of viewing, wanting to make sure there are certain things that their students know.
And this is where the advising can be so helpful, is that your son or daughter can come in and talk to Ron about all these questions from the engineering side. Yes.
Hi, I wanted to refer back to the earlier questions about careers and internships. I run recruiting for the U.S. and Ford Motor Company, and I would say to these parents is don't give your kids so much pressure to get an internship your freshman year, because we don't really, as much as we want to groom them, encompass them, and get them excited about Ford Motor Company, truly, we want to talk to you when your kid is a junior and senior, and so that way we can bring them in and look at that internship for future, you know, to give them an offer once they graduate. So freshmen, it's really tough to get at least an internship in a big firm. So I would just encourage, like you mentioned, is do various experiences, and have leadership opportunities, and learn how to talk to people and interview well. Think about their behaviors and shaking hands. You don't know how many kids come to us and they don't know how to shake a hand and give eye contact. Give them those basic skills and they'll go a long way.
Thank you. I often think that if I was a student today, the three things that I would spend my summer doing: my first summer, I would do an international experience like the summer in London. My second summer, I would do a research experience with a faculty member. And my third summer, I would do an internship with a company. That way you're really getting a well-rounded summer experience.
Absolutely. And we need software engineers.
Jennifer?
I talked to Mark earlier. So yeah.
Thank you. Yes?
It sounded like you were de-emphasizing the co-op opportunities. If you have a student that doesn't want to go abroad but would prefer to try to pursue a co-op opportunity, is it as impractical in terms of the course load, and how is that? Is there a natural time that fits in?
The question is co-op being de-emphasized.
Well, so Chris can speak more to that. If by co-op you mean an extended, summer plus semester, we don't have a large number of students that do that, as opposed to some other universities where it's a much more common thing. We have made it easier to move some things around, so if you need to do an internship during a semester, that's possible. But that's not our usual mode of engagement.
I will say from the Career Center standpoint, we do work with co-op students. It is harder because of those requirements, but we always have co-op students that are interested in that, and there's always companies that are very interested in it. So I encourage you to encourage your sons and daughters that way. Sometimes they're resistant because they feel like they don't want to graduate later, or they don't want to get off track with their friends. If it's an issue with courses, of course they can't do it. That's when they need to talk to their major advisor and figure out how it's going to work. But it can be a great opportunity to get some really deep experience and contribute to the better understanding of what they're doing and make some connections. So it's a great program, but it is going to be not for everyone.
Yes.
Summer in London, you said it's 4 weeks.
Yes.
When are those 4 weeks in summer, and what's the
The timeline for applying is going to be pretty flexible because we haven't made it up yet this year.
Last year they started at the. Oh, sorry. They started at the very end of May, and then it was 4 weeks, and they are in class pretty much all day because they're taking two summer classes. So we hope this year that we can expand it and maybe have more offerings for the classes. Did you ask me something else about it? It's 4 weeks starting, and it will probably be again at the very end of May.
It does give students a chance and to still have another aspect of a summer experience when they come back. Yes, sir. You want to repeat the question, Chris?
Yeah, great question. So the question was, because there's a lot of touch points, which is a great thing, but I also, the question was about what's the difference between a tutor and a TA. And how we define it, I think now we define them as assistant instructors, so we call them AIs. I still call them TAs, but basically students that are hired to work directly with the class and with the instructor, that usually should be on the very top of the list for a student to really be accessing the resources that are officially connected to the class, which would be a TA or the AI role. They usually hold help sessions on their own. Every class or every department might be a little bit different. But our program, we're not directly, the tutors that we help manage out of our office aren't directly connected to the class, but really doesn't affect their impact. They can still be very valuable, but they won't have access necessarily to the syllabus or to textbooks. They really just have to rely on the student they're helping to bring those materials. But that connection usually works pretty well. But I really like that question because it just brings up advice I would help give that we will be giving to students, and if you can help pass on for us, is that there's a lot of resources, and the most successful students in our program tend to use a combination of the resources, and not necessarily every single one. And maybe one-on-one tutoring through our program is a better fit for a student for a particular class than maybe doing the PLTL program in Corners or in the Learning Center. But that's part of what they'll learn as they transition here. But we don't care which route they use. We take a little pride that our program is as popular as it is in our tutoring program, but at the end of the day, however they're accessing that support is really the most important. So just to remind your sons and daughters that that first stop should be to access any support directly offered through their class, and then right behind that would be certainly the resources out of student services.
Yes.
Would you please update us on the progress of the construction of the engineering buildings on the east end of campus and how those resources might be used this year?
Yeah, an update of the facilities being built on the east end. Dean Bobick, would you like to address that?
Sure. So actually everything's done except one building, and that one building is the McKelvey Hall for computing. What you should know is that when McKelvey opens, we actually exit Jolly Hall. So Jolly Hall right now is where computer science is. And so, and in fact, when McKelvey opens up, only the first and second floor will be done, so the amount of space available will be sort of equivalent to what we moved out of. So it's not going to dramatically impact what's available to students or faculty. From an undergraduate perspective, the most significant engineering event on the East End will be next Monday's opening of the Makerspace on the bottom of Jewel Hall. If you haven't gone and see it, go see it. It's not huge, it's pretty good size. For those of you who know anything about these things, we have three 3-axis CNC machines, a 4-axis CNC machine, laser cutter, a couple of other things that are brand new, just put in, besides all the other stuff we had from mechanical engineering. And then next to it is a studio with all the various hand tools, 3D printing, and all that kind of stuff. Leveraging, and by the way, that's actually open to all students at WashU, not just engineering students, unlike the Makerspace at the art school, just saying. But that will impact opportunity for the undergrad. For the most part, and then of course Shook's Pavilion will be yet another place to eat, so that'll be great. But I think it's really not going to impact them one way or the other. And especially for you folks, McKelvey Hall should be open January 21, so that'll be here before you know it.
Yes.
Yes,
So
we
is
have
it-
an add drop period. The last day to add a class is September 5th. That's my birthday. At 9 p.m. That's very important for your students. If they tell you, I am going to be changing my schedule around, don't do it on your phone. Doesn't always work, and the system shuts down at 9 p.m. So students call us in a panic all the time because it's like dog years. 9 p.m. to them is like, 2 in the afternoon to me. So they'll try to add classes. So yes, you can add classes up till September 5th at 9 p.m., and you can also drop classes. But if you're going to add a class, you want to do it sooner rather than later.
So just a follow-on question. My son's would that be a problem if on five?
So how many classes should students be taking?
The typical load is 15, but usually a
15
student will take
minutes.
credits, not classes. 15 credits. Because 15 times 8 is 120. That's the other math that I do know for sure, because you need 120 credits to graduate. So most students will take between 14 and 16, depending on the classes. If the students come in with significant credit, pre-matriculation credit, they might be okay in 12 units, depending on something else they want to do. And hopefully, your son's talked to their four-year advisor about that number of credits, and he can still do that next week.
Yes.
The 16% student athletes who are engineers, what's the most important couple things that parents should know when they're trying to balance both the rigor of the classwork and taking tests maybe on the road at 10 o'clock at night?
Yeah.
That's when you
Good
take the
question.
12, maybe.
Yeah.
If you're a football player, fall.
We've been calling out, WashU engineering is somewhere around 16-18% of the undergraduates at WashU. We're over 22-23% of the athletes. And there was a time, at least when I last asked Chris, that we were almost a third of the team captains. Two quick stories. One is I met with some young soccer women players, and they told me that their grades are much better during the season. I said, really? They said, oh yeah, the season, I know I got to get up at 6 o'clock, I got to practice from 6:30, whatever, this is when by the way, this is when I sleep, and their time management is much better during the season. Then the season ends, and they figure, oh, I've got all this time, and then their grades tank. So they manage that really well. The coaches are really. You're in a very competitive D3 school. And what that means is the coaches really understand time management and structuring of the students. That's one thing. Two things for you to know. Actually, one related. Back in 2018. Lizzie Chris was 2018.
2017.
So Lizzie Chris was one of our star soccer players. She won not only for the NCAA Division III soccer player, women's soccer player of the United States. She won all divisions women's soccer player of the United States. And then she won the NCAA Woman Athlete of the Year. Of the whole United States, D1, D2, D3, all of the sports. Biomedical engineer, who after she graduated did what all NCAA athletes of the year do. She went and got a PhD in biomedical engineering at the University of Minnesota. And then I found out, I thought this was amazing, and then I found out in 2012, the NCAA Women Player of the Year was a WashU BME student. So our students excel in athletics because they are such good students, because they understand how to manage these things. I understand the issue of balance. They are in an environment that's designed for that balance.
Yes. Did you guys hear the question? I'm sorry, sir, could you repeat the question?
You said, what are the main employers and job functions for computer science? So one, it's a huge range. I would really encourage you to go to our website. If you go to students.woostel.edu and select a career center, we have outcome data there, and you can see where our students have gone in the different companies. But it's a whole range, right? We'll have students at all the top companies. Chris showed several of those in his slides. Google, Facebook, Amazon, right? All the big ones. We have a lot of students that go to startups. Software engineers, of course, can go anywhere. So they may be at the typical software companies, but software is needed in all companies, like Ford Motor Company, right? I mean, it's a whole range. So I know that's vague, but it's true. Our students do a lot of different things.
So if we could have in-council come down here, they were going to direct groups to the faculty meetings at noon, and we're all able to stay up here to answer individual questions you might have if we weren't able to get your question out there. Everyone here genuinely cares about your kids being here. We really appreciate you entrusting us with them, and we are here for them and for you. So thank you very much for being here today. Would the students come down?